Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and those beyond the binary. Welcome. This is The Between, a tabletop role-playing game about a group of mysterious monster hunters in Victorian-era London. My name is Alexander Rubitsky, and I will be the keeper for this gothic tale. I invite my hunters to introduce themselves. Wes, if you'd like to start us out.
Hi there, my name is Wes Franks. My pronouns are he, they. I am the creative director and founder of Carrying Comfort Studios. And for this show, this evening and subsequent evenings, I will be playing Ross Fontenot, Shug, the American.
Amazing.
Hi, I'm Meg. My pronouns are she, her. I am a DM skilled writer, particularly in the Eberron setting, but Xander seemed to have wrote me in to do something fun with you all here tonight. I will be playing for you the illustrious Carla Holst, and it's wonderful to meet you all, darlings.
Hi, my name is Jordan. My pronouns are he, him. I am a voice actor and musical composer, also CEO of The Man, and today I am playing Cal Murdock this evening.
Hi, my name is Shelby, and I'm from the channel called Whistle While You Work. I've recently rebranded over to Shooby Dooby Doo, and I'm just a regular TTRPG player. I've played over on Joe Cat's Necro Hunt, regular player over on Roll for Damage, and tonight I'm going to be playing Pira, Rivia.
Thank you, hunters. Before we begin, we should do some announcements and give thanks to the people who deserve them. First of all, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Session Zero Clothing, tabletop apparel, streetwear, and accessories. You can use promo code FAILSAFE at checkout for 10% off your order. You should absolutely check them out because, well, they're cool and we like them. And then the last thank you I'd like to give this, tonight is to none other than this game's creators, Jason Cordova and the Gauntlet Publishing, for being extremely supportive and also allowing us to use some of the assets from their book. So for that, you have our thanks. Moving on, to help set some expectations before we begin, let's discuss what this game is about and what we're going to be doing tonight. I will speak of the game's concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. Or cats, if you please.
Alex, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but they're saying it's buffering.
Oh my goodness. That's all right.
Spelled two wrong. That's embarrassing. Used the wrong two. Oh, it looks like we're back.
Oh, I think we're back.
So far, so good? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for letting me know. We're trying to get that under control before we actually go live. Okay, all good? Let's move forward. Oh, and one more thing I should throw out there for our live audience here tonight is that we are going to be having a discount code for The Between in chat during the break halfway through the game. That will get you 50% off the game on DriveThruRPG if you're looking to run your own tale of Victorian monster hunting and mysterious sensuality and fun. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be posting that around on the intermission. Going forward, let's discuss the concept, aim, tone, and subject matter of this game. The concept of The Between is that these hunters learn about various monstrous threats in the city and conduct investigations or hunts in order to neutralize them. Over time, they become aware of the plans of a criminal mastermind who is pulling the strings behind the scenes. The hunters will eventually be forced to confront this criminal mastermind in order to save Queen and country. It is a game directly inspired by the TV show Penny Dreadful, but also takes inspiration from British horror classics, the works of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, pulp era media, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and From Hell. The game's mechanics are based on Apocalypse World and Brindlewood Bay, but you don't need to know anything about those games in order to play. The aim of the characters in the story is to keep London safe by investigating monstrous threats and learning how to stop them. Our aim as players is to learn more about these characters' mysterious pasts, as well as to paint a vivid picture of Victorian-era London, a responsibility we all share. The aims for tonight's episode in particular are to introduce our characters, learn the basics of how the game is played by playing it, and then see what happens. The tone of the Between is dark, mysterious, and sensual. A little bit of levity or humor is allowed from time to time. That's more than okay, but we will always strive to return to that dark, brooding place the characters exist in. The subject matter may include murder, cannibalism, body horror, dark sexual themes, erotic sensuality, threats to animals and children, local foul language, blasphemy, witchcraft, and defiling graves, among other things dark and intense. Now, no game is more important than the people playing it. We're going to paint a dark, unsettling portrait of Victorian-era London, but we're going to do it in a way that respects everyone's boundaries of safety and consent. In order to do that, we have safety tools in play. One such tool we are using tonight is lines and veils. Lines being things that we are not going to have in the game, period, and veils being things that we are okay with being in the game, but we prefer to keep them off screen. For example, going forward, we have lined sexual violence and sexual non-consent, as well as veiled sexual content in general. Things are going to get a little intense, but we'll always fade to black before anything truly explicit is shown or described. Before we go further, I want to share a few more details of the setting. These characters, the Hunters, are the current residents of a place called Hargrave House. Hargrave House is a mansion on Belgrave Square in London. The people who live there share the common goal of defending the city from whatever dark forces are lurking in its shadows, be it monster or murderer. They operate outside of official channels, frequently taking cases that Scotland Yard can't or won't. Importantly, Hargrave House existed long before these characters took up residence there, and previous residents were doing the same work. By the time we join these characters, they have already been living and working together for a time. We don't dwell on how they came to live at Hargrave House, nor do we care who owns or funds the place. We may learn more about these things in the future, but for now, Hargrave House just is. Another thing to know is that these characters are to remain mysterious. We should avoid talking about their pasts, both in and out of character, unless we are prompted to do so by the game's rules. The reason we do this is because we want to learn about these characters as we play. It's a little bit like watching a good TV show. We don't learn everything about these characters all at once. The information is given to us in pieces at dramatically impactful moments in the story, usually in the form of flashbacks. With that said, let's meet these characters. Hunters, going around in the same order we began, please introduce your character by name, look, and their vice, the thing they use to stimulate or numb themselves to daily life. You may also summarize what your playbook moves currently do in brief. Wes, begin first.
Well, I'm going to have to introduce you to the American. His name is Ross Fontenot. He looks to be about having mutton chops, wears a nice bowler cap on top with a feather in it, has a bolo tie with turquoise inlay and a pocket square of purple silk. He's a big, boisterous fella, very jovial. Well, his vice is, it's opium. To tell you more about Ross, I grew up in a big city on the eastern seaboard of the United States, the scion of a prominent family. But I detested that life, the formality, the pretension, the venomous hypocrisy, and so I went west. I had adventures, got good with a gun, even joined a traveling show for a time. But then came the curse, and everything changed. I did my best to control it, and some nights were definitely worse than others, but eventually it got to be too much. Even my days were affected by the changes within me. My behavior became reckless and unpredictable, and then I had to run far away. In the end, it was London calling, a thick, throbbing mass of humanity within which to lose myself. the whole world and all its lovely pleasures right within my grasp. But the curse has found me, like it always does, Shug. Hopefully these new folks, these hunters I've thrown in with can help me for good, permanent like, when the time comes.
Now, having heard that, hunters, we are going to do a crucial step that we have saved for being live in front of our distinguished guests. Having heard now about Mr. Fontenot, his look, his vice, and, well, some color text about his backstory, we are all going to name one object or piece of equipment we think that Mr. Fontenot has in his bedroom at Hargrave House based on what we know about him so far. Wes, you may veto any idea you don't like or may ask for a revision. You will write these down in the personal quarters section of your playbook. Who would like to go first? And just to clarify, this is everyone excluding Wes gets to contribute an item. Shelby, go ahead.
You have an alligator toe.
I got alligator toe sitting right there on my dresser. Of course I do.
Just the toe?
Just the toe.
Incredible.
That's the luckiest part of the gator.
I think what I'm going to contribute is going to be I see that you're going through for a like a bayou frontiersman kind of vibe. So I'm going to say you have a ooh, actually I'm actually torn. I'll let a couple other people go first. I need to take more time to decide.
Simple, then.
Go ahead.
A cigarette lighter.
That's very fancy. I never had one before, but I did get one when I came here to London. A cigarette lighter. Perfect for lighting my cigarillos with. Thank you.
Of course.
I was thinking just a big fuck off Bowie knife.
Ooh.
You know, just a big just a big knife.
Giant bayou knife, just
Perfect for skinning snake and gator out there in the swamps. Of course, a big fuck off Bowie knife just for you, sir.
God bless America.
I love that. Then what I'm going to contribute with that in mind is, let's see, we have a gator toe. We have the lighter. And what did you just say, Jordan?
Do you want to write down big fuck off knife?
Oh, that's right. That's yeah.
I believe there's a big fuck off Bowie knife. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
Big fuck off Bowie knife. Yes.
Well, then in that case, I want to do something a little interesting. I'm going to say that you have what's the word I'm looking for here? A box, like a little kind of like tin box, full of assorted southern spices.
My stash box, southern spices, we'll say. I might have 11 or 39 to different herbs and spices in there.
you just gave him a box of Creole seasoning.
That's right. We got Tony Chachare's in there. Never leave home without him.
And you said that you got this lighter from just when you came into London? Is that what you said?
It was one of the first things I purchased when I arrived here. I was drawn to it.
I love that.
Fun fact for our audience, lighters are older than matches.
Yes, they are.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that is
What the hell is the point of a match then?
right.
Temporary
cheaper?
lighters.
Well, maybe cheaper to produce. Who knows? I'm sorry. That was tangent.
Let me. Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's great. Wes, are you good with all those?
I'll say with an alligator toe, cigarette lighter, big fuck off Bowie knife, and a small tin of herbs and spices, I am good.
Oh, wonderful. Who would like to go next?
Are we going in order of the folks introduced?
I feel like we can just kind of
Because
go off now. Let's go. Let's do you now, Jordan.
We're spicing it up. Yeah,
Let's spice
okay.
it up.
Yeah, me too, you, Jordan.
First episode, we're already kind of getting a little off the rails. Let's do it. Let's get crazy.
Why not?
So I'm going to introduce the mother, Cal Murdock, a biracial with clean and unadorned hands and circular spectacles, who, from time to time enjoys going to open casket funerals. From time to time, though, not often. Few understand the mysteries of human anatomy like I do. I am one of the most brilliant medical minds in London and could take my place as a lecturer at any number of esteemed academies, but I have different ideas. different plans. I'm no longer interested in merely preserving life, but creating it. And so I'll do what I must to survive. Tending to the prostitutes dying of consumption, assisting Scotland Yard with grisly forensic inquiry, and creeping about in the dark with these new people, these hunters with whom I share a home. But always, I am focused on the new life growing in my secret womb. My child, the one I hope will capture even the faintest reflection of the person I loved and lost. That's it.
Wonderful. Let's add some items to Dr. Murdock's personal quarters. Anyone have any ideas thus far?
Well, I'm going to tell you right quick, Doc, you're real creepy, mighty creepy. And just for that, you have a creepy pair of forceps that you keep with your medical gear.
Can we say rusty forceps? Like
rusty,
Ooh.
creepy. They seem almost ancient.
Ooh. Oh, ancient forceps. That's a good word. I like that.
Ancient forceps. I like
Ancient
that.
forceps. That's,
like that a
that's
lot.
very neat. I'm going to give you. You're going kind of. I know that Murdock is an Irish name. So I think I'm going to actually kind of go off like the traditional protective charms, like family, like Celtic. Like what's the word I'm looking for here? Like Celtic totems kind of thing. I want to go
Protection charms.
Yeah, protection charms.
Yeah.
Like, are you talking about druidic protection charms or Celtic?
I think I was leaning towards druidic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Druidic. Okay.
Yeah. I wanted to go a little
Druidic.
off the medical vibe for a moment and add a
Witch
little flavor.
doctor.
Yeah, I like it.
Interesting.
I think I'll swing back to the medical doctor vibes,
Please.
though. Let's get a little macabre. Let's get a jar of formaldehyde.
A ton of that.
This one's special. It's preserving. Let's say it's preserving a heart.
Oh, a heart in a heart in a jar.
Would that be okay to have if like I'm looking for pieces? And
Yes, because your whole thing is that you're looking for pieces. This piece will not be able to function as a piece for the child, but it is it is imperfect for your designs, but you have it for possibly other uses.
To be fair, you've soaked it in formaldehyde. You've made it to where blood physically will not flow through it anymore. So
This is very
That's
true.
true. That's true.
Very
well,
true.
You always have to have something to study, after all.
exactly. I think I want to go the less macabre route. You have a small knitted, unraveling little bear. That's a totem of the person you are trying to bring back.
That is particularly interesting. Jordan, do you like those suggestions?
Very much so.
Wonderful.
Very much so.
Let us go on to the next. Who would like to go next?
I can go.
Please.
I am playing Carla Holst, the Undeniable. She is a woman of exceptional peerage, with sheer gloves on her fingers, a very long blood red dress, flawless skin speckled with freckles, because freckles aren't flaws, they're sunspots. She has dark, long hair, eyes that look brown in some lights, red in others. It's also hard to tell exactly how tall she is. Sometimes she seems short and demure, as expected of a Victorian lady. Sometimes she prefers to be a little more imposing. For you see, I have always been the most beautiful person in the room. My looks have opened doors for me as long as I can remember. All the money and material things anyone could want laid at my feet. Artists have found inspiration in the brightness of my eyes, the delicate curve of my cheekbones, the plump softness of my lips. One such artistic work, a masterwork, rises above them all, for it captures the very essence of me. And quite simply, more than me. Lately, people sacrifice everything to be near me, to please me, and if they're lucky, to touch me. But what to do when I get bored with being one of the gods?
What indeed?
What indeed?
What do we add to Miss Holst's personal quarters?
You have a box of engagement rings that people have tried to give you over your incredibly long life that you've kept purely because they're almost as pretty as you.
They are very nice. I do like the sapphire one the best.
Indeed.
I think you have a locket, and this locket is a lot older than it should be, but it's got the face of someone.
Okay.
Could have been a gift, could have been someone that you were particularly fond of at some point. A locket with a face.
I like that.
I'm going to add luxuriously scented massage oils.
Ooh. And Wes?
You have a velvet velour bag with a drawstring that is filled with drachma from ancient Greece.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Drachma.
I like that.
Classy. That's so classy.
And I also forgot to mention, Carla has a very specific and very interesting vice. She quite likes attending to the dying.
And attend to them she shall. Meg, are you happy with those personal quarters
I
items?
am very happy with that. Absolutely
Wonderful.
happening.
Then last, but certainly not least, Shelby, tell us about Pira.
I'll be playing Pira Rivia, the legacy of Hargrave House. I've got shaggy, messily cut, windblown hair. My only finery being a scabbard inlaid with gold, and I am covered in scars. I also have a bit of a penchant for going home with strangers. For you see, Hargrave House is filled with monster hunters, but I am the only one who was born to do it. My parents, and their parents before them have known one thing: reveling in the destructions of ungodly beasts and carnivorous terrors. My family name has been whispered in secret meetings for generations, passed along to those in need of our hereditary talents. I was taught how to hold a blade when I was a child and completed my first hunt not very many years after. My knowledge of combat and trapping is unparalleled, but I've grown disillusioned with my heritage. I want more than to be just another entry in a long ledger of death. I want out. But I have one last score to settle first. A curse of sorts. A beast. A beast that haunts me and my family for as long as I can remember. And so now I prepare to speak my family's vow.
Wonderful. Thank you. And as a point of order for anyone watching, the Legacy is a relatively new playbook from the game's most recent expansion by the time this episode's coming out. So for those of you...
Can I say what my weapon is? I'm sorry.
Oh,
is that
absolutely.
something I'm allowed to say?
Oh, absolutely. You may go ahead and say what your weapon is.
I'm so sorry. I forgot that's a mechanic. I have a set of dual sabers. I'm quite skilled with them.
Heirloom blades of the Rivia family. Fantastic. All right, hunters, what do we add to Pira's personal quarters?
Oh God, Jordan was like, I know.
Right away.
This is...
Get me in
Hello.
there.
So I'm thinking on your wall, you currently have hung up this whip, but it's a whip of silver chains with a big, just like almost like Morning Star-ish kind of like
just the full-on weapon from Castlevania.
Absolutely. It's the Belmont whip.
Yeah.
I think
Hell
you
yeah.
do in fact have this silver whip hanging up, just fucking ready. Just ready for whenever something just terrorizes the town.
That is genuinely fantastic.
That's
I have
awesome.
one. I have one.
Go ahead.
You have a manual that has been passed down through your family that is essentially a creature codex
Ooh.
of all of the things that your family has killed, and your page is still empty.
I like that.
So, Pira had a very focused, intense monster hunting, like training focused upbringing. Not a lot of time for playing or for toys, but she does have a handmade bandolore, which is what it was called back in the day, bandolore, but what we know as a yo-yo. It is just a common wooden circle on a string. It was, you know, I think worthy enough to have that, to consider it might be hand-eye coordination training.
I think that's fantastic. I am going to contribute a severed finger bearing a enemy house's crest ring, like an enemy family of your families. You have a severed finger from one of them with the ring still on it.
That's kind of that's fucking
I like
dope.
that. I really like that.
That's fucking sick. Wait,
Can it also be in a jar?
A vial, a little vial.
Yes.
oh, that's so cool. Oh,
I love this. I love this so much. I accept all of this. This is great.
Shelby, do you like your personal quarters items for Pira?
Yes, I love it.
Wonderful.
oh, these are all so cool.
I think that is pretty fantastic. I love the combat yo-yo, the big fuck off Bowie knife, the herbs and spices. This is I think this is a fantastic start. We're just about ready to dive into the world of the Between, but before we do, I want to tell everyone, hunters and distinguished guests alike, that even though this is a game set in a historical time period, we aren't going to dwell on historical accuracy. We'll do our best to represent the technology and culture of the era, but we're going to get some things wrong every now and then, and that is okay. I would also like to point out that during this time period, people with marginalized identities would likely have been treated very poorly in society. We're going to ignore that part of history. In the world of the Between, things like race, nationality, gender, ethnicity, sexuality, disability, and neurodivergence are not a social barrier. And that is the final matter on that. Well, I think we're all good to go. We learn as we play, and we will jump right in. So, without further ado, I think we're gonna throw ourselves over to the intro. We'll be back in a minute, and we will see what happens. We will be right back. Hargrave House is an old Gothic Revival style building. It stands out from its neighbors on Belgrave Square, which are done in the more conventional classical style. Hargrave House is also different because it's not just a residence, but a place of work. Dark work. And some more of that dark work has just landed on the doorstep. A back issue of the Illustrated Police News, a tabloid notorious for carrying salacious, blood-curdling tales of dubious provenance, has a story about a young maid, Ginny Hess, who was found dead, apparently, from shock, in her employer's St. James's Street townhouse some months ago. The story claims the townhouse is haunted, and that it was almost certainly the appearance of a ghost that caused the young maid to die of fright. After a cursory inquiry, you learn the precise address of the haunting, 18 St. James's Street, and the name of the family that lives there, the Beals. Pira. Most tales of hauntings are complete nonsense, especially those carried by the Illustrated Police News. But Hargrave House has some experience with ghosts, and a particular detail in this story confirms that this is a legitimate haunting. What is it?
A lingering scent of sulfur when she was found.
Oh, interesting. Good to know. Now, a moment to address my hunters about the game structure itself, now that we're kind of in it. The Between is played in phases. The dawn phase, the day phase, the dusk phase, and the night phase. This is the day phase, where I introduce a threat to the city of London that you guys will interact with. The day phase itself is a more languid pace. It's very similar to like most traditional role-playing games. And you guys get to like set up scenes that you want to do during the day. They could be investigating the threat. They could be anything else. Please let your imagination run wild. And yeah, that's where we currently are. So with this established, I've introduced the threat. The name of this threat is the St. James's Street Ghost. Now, in order to resolve a threat, you must investigate, find clues, and answer questions. This threat has two questions in particular. The first being, which part of the house is the ghost attached to? That has a complexity rating of 4. As a reminder, a complexity rating is a sort of barrier for figuring out, or rather I should say a penalty. Whenever you want to try and answer a question, because in the world of the Between, there are no solid answers to these questions. It is up to our hunters to deduce and figure things out and make something that feels right to them. The complexity rating is a subtraction to the roll you will make when attempting to answer this question. So the more clues you find, each clue that you incorporate in your answering adds a bonus, a +1 bonus per clue. And you need at least half the complexity rating to attempt to even answer a clue anyway. Make sense? Wonderful.
Understandable.
So yes, that first question, which part of the house is the ghost attached to, has a complexity rating of 4. I will not reveal what opportunity you unlock until you unlock it, but I will let you know now. It involves obtaining a custom move that you can all use in the game going forward. The second question, the main big question, is how can we get this ghost to pass on to the next world? That has a complexity of 6. Understood? Well, we have introduced the threat. Hunters, what would you like to do?
Are we still in Hargrave House talking about the case, or are we physically going to the location?
That is entirely up to you. We can have a scene where you hunters are debating what you'd like to do today, or we can just sort of, in the meta-narrative, establish that you guys have a plan or an approach that you'd like to do in some way, and then just go from there. So that is entirely up to you. You're welcome to have a scene together, or go off and do things as a group, individually, in pairs. Live in the world. Let us begin.
Cool with us having a little captain's meeting if you guys are cool with that.
I think that would be a bad idea.
I love that. We will generally do a few scenes in the day phase before we move on to the more dangerous night phase after the dusk. So enjoy the pace. Live in the world. This is your time as players to shine through role play and what you guys want to accomplish thus far.
Think we'll kick it off. You can smell it in the morning. It's A nice, lovely smell wafting through the halls of Hargrave House, as you can tell, as is tradition most of the time. Mr. Fontenot is in the kitchen cooking up something good for everybody. Has a little bit of a savory but spicy texture to it, it'd seem, on there. There's plenty of ingredients in the kitchen. He's got his sleeves rolled up, his suspenders out. He's got an apron on, and he's got the table set, getting ready to talk about this here ghost, so to speak.
God, I love Ross so much. How dare you?
Well, that smells quite divine, Mr. Fontenot. What's on the menu?
You nearly gave me a fright there, Cher. Carla, it's good to see you this morning. What I have here is we've got ourselves some hog moss. We got some a little bit of hog moss, bacon as well, in case you're not too fond of the hog moss there. And then got some grits, a little bit of hash, as well as some fresh fruit. It was fresh yesterday. It seems that it's starting to take a pallid kind of color, but it's still good. Tastes just as good.
And do you have anything more particular to my tastes, or?
Oh, yes, of course. And you're going to send...
If not, that's fine. I can do with bacon.
I had to keep it warm. And you're going to see him walk over to the French top that we have, and is going to put on an oven mitt, take the top off of it, and with tongs of sorts, the more archaic form of tongs, is going to pull out a jar of thick, viscous red liquid.
Ah, thank you, darling. You're the best.
There you go. Got that just special for you. Butcher said it was just from this morning, so I tried to keep it as fresh as possible. I know you are drawn to certain proclivities.
That's the word for it. Pira.
I'm coming. Good fucking God. You don't need to scream across the house. And I just
I'm not. If I was screaming, you'd hear me more.
If you were screaming, we'd probably have the good doctor awake by now.
Please, is there whiskey in here? Booze anywhere?
Oh,
huge headache.
I would be thoroughly surprised if there wasn't alcohol on the premises, knowing this lot.
Yeah, no, I go directly to a cabinet.
Let's see. Whiskey, bourbon. Ooh, we have some absinthe, but it's a little early for that.
Oh no, just give me something. And I reach past you and I take a bottle. Fucking pull it open and start drinking. God fucking Lord, my head hurts.
All right, take it a little bit easier there. We still got to talk to people this morning. Okay, don't
Good
forget.
heavens.
That's not my job, okay? It's your job it's your job, both of you, to do the talking. It's my job to do the killing. We've been over this.
Pira, it's not even 10 a.m. If we're going to investigate something, we ought to have a clear head. Yes?
I do my best work when I'm drunk. What are you talking about?
Cal just exchanges a look and begins to make his tea.
So a ghost, and you think it's real this time?
Pretty sure. Not a lot of places, not a lot of, people hear something and they get spooked, but a lot of times they don't report smelling sulfur. I've only ever heard that in actual hauntings. So could be an actual ghost, could be a gas leak. Kind of just got to go there to find out.
Said it's St. James's Street. Now, is this a kind of a fancy establishment? We talking to some highfalutin folks there, yeah? We got a little bit of lowbreds.
I will add the detail in universe of a little bit of knowledge of St. James's Street. It is a relatively upscale area, certainly upper middle class at least, but it's definitely not palatial. It has nice townhouses. Generally, people are pretty well-to-do, and that is your knowledge of the neighborhood loosely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like it wouldn't be a spot that a murder would just take place, nor does it seem like it'd be a place for people to just prank others.
I mean, I wouldn't rule out a murder. since she was just kind of found there. I wouldn't rule out that maybe she was poisoned in some way, but they say it was shock, so I'm assuming they didn't find anything cutting her open.
Yes, but there are a lot of things that can, induce shock. Sometimes getting into a cold shower after you've had a hot one can induce shock in some way or another. So, for all we know, it could just be for practical reasons that she could have died.
What time of year is it? What is the temperature right now?
I think we should establish that maybe it is about mid to late summer.
Temperature difference seems a little far-fetched. It hasn't really been cold enough, I don't think. Unless she jumped into a bucket of ice, or like dumped a bucket of ice on herself and then ran next to a radiator.
I wouldn't rule it out. Some people are just like that. And he just, like, with a scrutinizing look, takes a sip of tea. Fuck.
Oh. Here, I'm going to go ahead and hand over a handkerchief over to the good doctor, so you don't dribble all over yourself once you burn yourself again there.
I have a hole in my lip. I apologize. And he just dabbles his face and gets it on his bow tie.
Oh,
Honestly.
interesting folk. Good folk. I wonder how they've managed to piss off a ghost, if that's what seems to be happening here. Wonder
Ghost
who
can-
angered who.
Could be anger. Could be just the ghost doesn't know it's dead.
In some cases where ghosts just do it for the fuck of it. They're unkind. Unkind
Poltergeists exist. There's definitely spirits that are more mischievous, but I'm not sure they're associated with sulfur.
We should speak to the family there and see if we can find if there's anyone that's recently departed or could have potentially been a previous owner of said establishment, or if it was passed down generation to generation.
Yeah.
How long ago did she die again?
Some months ago now. Let's say that around
Okay,
3 months ago this happened, and the story just recently hit the papers.
Okay, so that would have been in late spring, not summer.
When she died, it would have been late spring then. Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so maybe temperature. Maybe there could be. Maybe we had a frigid spring. I guess it's also worth saying where she died in the house.
Where she died, what she was doing beforehand.
Many good things to look into. Many good things to look into. It sounds like you have are formulating a wonderful list of possible avenues to begin investigating. Hunters, do you wish to stick together for now, or split up and go about looking at different avenues? I heard some people mention wanting to maybe go to 18 St. James's Street on location, or another location if anyone wants to. What would you like to do now that you've had a chance to discuss?
Go ahead, please.
I think getting a general look at the place first is a good idea. None of us have been there. And I think if we're going to be looking at a haunting, all of us getting familiar with the place is not a bad idea to start.
Perhaps we can divide and conquer. Some of us take a closer look around the house. Some of us go speak to the house owner and staff.
It's an idea.
Mm-hmm.
I was
See if she's been interred yet, and maybe if not, the good doctor might have a little poke around and see what's happening.
I was thinking the same thing. I might see about getting a hold of her medical records if I can. See if there's anything amiss.
Then
go ahead. Sorry, Carla.
Then I will speak with the family. I think that is a good idea.
I'll take a look around where she died, see if I can find any other signs. If it is a ghost and not, she just fucking dropped dead.
This could very possibly be just the case of someone whose time just came. It happens. It's unfortunate, but it happens.
I think it sounds like you mentioned, Dr. Murdock, that you want to look into these medical records. Now, obviously, if this poor girl died some months ago, so surely she is long in the ground, even for a serving girl of a house. But I think that you would know that. Well, yes, she would be in the ground, but you certainly know where to look into like medical records and where her body may have been. You work all over London when various different jobs when the moment calls. So I think if it sounds all right with you, maybe investigating the mortuary where she was interred so they can find like any records they may have.
Yeah, I think that sounds like an excellent idea. Yes.
Fantastic. And then it sounds like that Ross, Carla, and Pira want to go to the house itself.
Mhm.
Excellent.
Would I be able to take the codex with me?
So the way that personal quarters items work is that any of these things can reasonably be on your person at any time. You never need to specify that you're carrying a specific item with you from your personal quarters, as long as you you can bust it out for fictional positioning whenever you please.
Cool. So I want that. That seems like a useful tool.
Yeah, so you can just pull out your items whenever. As a reminder of what personal quarters items do, as I mentioned, fictional positioning, you can use them narratively whenever to suit your needs. But if you want to get a mechanical benefit from using it, you mark it, which is on our playbooks, our character keeper, I should say. You check off the item. When you use it, it gives you advantage on a relevant roll, and then you can't use it for a benefit again. You still have the item. You just can't use it to... unless you destroy it, I should say. But yeah, so we'll see where that goes. Excellent. Then let's do this. I think let's start. I kind of want to see where this mortuary thing goes first. So let's start with Dr. Murdock. I want to hear more about the body. So you make your way to the vicinity of where St. James's Street is here in London. Not necessarily close to the house itself, but where this local mortuary is.
Right.
Have you been to this mortuary before? Are you familiar with this neighborhood? Is that a...
Oh, absolutely. It's anytime that he's gotten called by Scotland Yard to check out something, he definitely would have gotten called to this place at some point.
Funny that you mention Scotland Yard. I think I'm going to establish that as you're approaching this mortuary, which is, a simple place. It's kind of like in like not a basement, but it's in like a lower kind of level building that's like beneath another like actual medical office as well. It's kind of a little complex they have going on here. I'm going to say that standing outside is a figure you recognize, somebody from Scotland Yard who you've had some dealing with. D.I. Pettigrew anywhere. He is an official of Scotland Yard. Wears a spotless tweed coat, has a tidy mustache, currently, idly chewing on a smoking pipe as you approach. And as you walk up to the mortuary, he kind of like looks up from whatever he was contemplating and goes, Dr. Murdock, what brings you to the neighborhood?
He comes over, he shakes his hand.
He is reticent to shake your hand, but he still does so out of politeness.
I was hoping if I could possibly take a look at some records of a girl that died a few months ago. We happen to be reopening something to take a closer look.
I don't know why you're asking me, Dr. Murdock. I'm just here on my own case. You concern your business with yourself. That said, is this more of that Hargrave House business?
He gives like a very light nod. It's always the unforeseen circumstances. No?
Well, do be careful. I'm not fond of some of the business those lot get up to, but very well. I'm just waiting to hear back from the mortician at the moment. Care for a smoke, or are you in a rush?
I'd prefer to get back to them as soon as possible. But as for trouble around the area, I don't think we'll have to worry about that much this time.
Indeed. Kind of like tucks the pipe back into his mouth and like just kind of like side eyes you a little bit, but you enter the mortuary. We're gonna do I'm gonna make up a paint the scene question here. So what a paint the scene question is whenever we're on location, I'm going to ask out of character to my group a question that they get to incorporate details into. So let's see, for this mortuary, the paint the scene question is going to be looking around the interior of this place. It is very visible that this place receives a number of paupered dead, people who are very poor and don't have the means of full burials. What do we see around here that emphasizes the number of poor people that pass through this place? And you can all each add one detail of your own.
I'd say there's probably like a pile of shoes. Like an unfortunate just pile of just shoes, or what was what was left of shoes. Someone who could not, afford much. It's the biggest thing.
A pile of shoes. I like that. Yeah.
There is a small donation box that's out front for victims of the departed, and it is very, very empty. There is a single loaf of bread and a scattering of copper pieces, little pennies.
Back in the towards the back where the body coolers are kept on ice, every door is horrendously squeaky and you can hear them through the walls.
The main examination room is, so the building is on the first floor, but the main examination room goes underground a little bit to help keep temperature regulated. And there are windows, but they're at the top near the ceiling. And only few rays of light stream into this room, casting odd shadows.
I love that. Fantastic. Dr. Murdock, you enter the mortuary. There is the, kind of the mortician themselves. I'm going to say it's this like scrawny gentleman, kind of has like, black hair, oiled back, like those pince-nez spectacles, is currently just like elbow deep in somebody. And as you enter, just goes, Dr. Murdock, what brings you to my humble workplace today?
Hoping to just take a look at some records. Do you need assistance with that?
Oh no, I'm almost done here. Just simple bullet ricocheting against the clavicle. You know how it is.
Tragic.
Yes, it is most sad. Anyway, you wanted records. Wonderful. He kind of like pulls like his like big, like leather gloves out of this corpse and kind of like takes them off. Do you mind? Is this another case you're helping Scotland Yard with, or is this another circumstance entirely?
It's Hargrave House.
Doesn't ring
like a nod.
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
Well, it's not Scotland Yard, but still something to look into.
I'm gonna say that this gentleman's name is Jason. Jason Trent is his name. Jason Trent. And Mr. Trent says, what is the and it is a body that came through my business.
It would have been 2 months ago now at this point, but just not looking for the body, just looking for the records.
What is the name?
And he does give the name. I don't remember the name.
It's Jenny Hess.
Jenny Hess. Yes.
Yes, the young maid who was frightened to death by a ghost. How quaint. Why, might I ask? What intrigues you about this case? I mean, I admit she came through here some months ago and was, well, frightfully poor off, to say the least, of the dead. But what? It's old bones at this point. What do you need it for?
Well, she may be resting. The family has not. So I'm hoping to look at the records to maybe ease their superstition, perhaps.
Fine, very well. I can find the records, and you can take a gander at them if you so desire. And Mr. Trent goes out and achieves some files and brings them back to you. I will ask you, Dr. Murdock, what are you looking for? What is something you're trying to find here in these records?
So I'm honestly what I'm looking for is just to see if there's anything amiss. It seems like Mr. Trent does not believe in the supernatural. So whatever he's going to be writing down is going to be his best attempt to justify something that might be supernatural. And I'm hoping to look for the signs of the essential, you walk into a haunted house and you're like, oh, it must be the vents, that sort of thing of
for sure. Yeah.
A justification of supernatural events.
Okay,
seeing
this,
it, like,
this
if
sounds
it's-
like you're engaging your mental faculties. So
Yeah.
this is going to be, we're going to do, so in the between, this move is called the information move. And I'll read how this works. When you search for a clue, conduct research, or otherwise gather information, describe how you're doing so and roll with the appropriate ability. So for this, you're going to roll 2d6 and then add your reason number. Reason being your attribute of mental faculties and all that. And yeah, it's because it sounds like you're just trying to like read and like piece together and like intuit some interesting things in between the lines here. Now I will ask you, do you have any items in your personal quarters that you could reasonably use to give you advantage in cross-examining this file? It's fine if you don't.
I do have medical texts that can
never get
be
marked because you have the that is from the infirmary move you have as the mother. That's amazing. Then yeah, if I think that's absolutely justified. So why don't you roll with advantage? So you'll take 3d6 and then take the 2 higher numbers plus your reason. Go ahead and roll that.
Let me just scroll the way back up. Okay, so we have a 5, 5, and 2. So that's going to be 12.
Literally the first roll of the game is a 12, which on the information move gives you a clue and a mastermind clue.
Oh, what the fuck?
Oh shit!
Oh, let's go.
First
signs
roll of the
for
game.
future?
What was that, sorry?
My dice have been very lucky.
Good signs for the future.
Good signs for the future.
Or bad.
so.
For our distinguished guests,
Don't
yes,
say that,
indeed.
please.
For our distinguished guests listening at home, mastermind clues are a sort of countdown for Hargrave's House inevitable showdown with the main villain of this story, who we will learn about very soon. Great.
Man.
Great. You begin to cross-reference this file. I will find an appropriate clue for you, and we'll come back to this scene in a bit.
Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely incredible. Jumping now over to 18 St. James's Street. We have Ross, Carla, and Pira. You guys arrive in the neighborhood. It is a relatively nice building, all things considered. There are other townhouses much like it. People are out and about enjoying the fine weather. Some couples arm in arm off to see other parts of the city where they're doing a market today, or they are just have other business elsewhere. I'd say it's about it's like late morning, but we don't need to concern ourselves too heavily with time. But you stand outside St. James's Street, 18 St. James's Street specifically. The three of you, what do?
Who's taking the lead on this? Should I go ahead and introduce myself, or should we have the fair Miss Holst kind of lead our
Carla.
band of Miss
Carla. Carla.
All right,
let's
all
lead
right.
us.
Indeed.
I'll knock on the door.
Let's swoon him. Or her. Or them.
All right, you, Carla, you walk up the front steps to the front door and you knock.
Lightly.
Wonderful. There is a moment of silence that follows the knock. And you realize this moment of silence might be due to the fact that the soul maid is dead and they don't likely have a replacement for her. And you hear, after like a minute or so, deliberate heavy thumping footsteps of someone guffawing under their breath and huffing up their way. And the front door opens, and standing in front of you is a square framed like woman, very jowly, clearly, stains spattered across her clothes. She's wearing like a thick apron as well. But your eyes immediately begin to like water as the overwhelming stench of onion and tobacco wafts out over onto you from her. And she answers her and she sees, yes, how may I help you?
Hello. I am a representative of Hargrave House, and me and my associates would just like to inquire about some events that happened in the months past, if that's all right.
Mr. Beal is presently away. He's at work. Ms. Beal is home. If you'd like to speak with her, I can see if she is available.
Yes, please. That would be most wonderful.
Very well. Would you mind waiting here?
Could we wait in the drawing room? I much
not
prefer staying inside.
I'm not the maid. This is not my job. Just don't make a muck of things. Just come on in. And she like just very like hastily like gestures you inward. And
as she's walking by, probably just like lays a hand on her shoulder and says, "Calm down, darling. You're doing your best.
No, I have things to attend to down in the kitchen. If you'll please excuse me." And she like hastily like stomps off while yelling like, "Mrs. Alice, you have guests at the front door. It's not my job to answer this now." She like kind of like just like huffs and just you hear heavy footsteps as she trundles away.
Yeah, that's pretty. You don't have a maid anymore. It's pretty disrespectful to complain about not having one when she dropped dead in your fucking house. But sure.
Do you think they're shoes on or off type homestead?
I'm not taking my shoes off.
I'm not taking my shoes off. I'm not taking my coat off.
Good idea.
And I'm not drinking their tea.
The first room, the front room that you step into, you know, as you're into the house, is a little front room that contains a library, and enough seating for the family and a few guests. You can see that there's like a dining room also on this first floor as well, in a separate room. But here's a paint the scene question for the front room. What in this room indicates that the Beals are living a little bit above their station?
Ooh.
There is a way too expensive vase up on that mantelpiece, and I'm talking like hand-painted, ancient, like it's an old antique, and it's like something you would find in the Queen's Palace, but it's sitting there on the mantelpiece.
Just old and
beautiful, and how the hell did you acquire
clearly
this?
a display of wealth and doesn't actually fit with the room itself. Yeah
Like the colors don't even match the drapes. It's fucking terrible.
There, through a window in the backyard, Carla spots the feathers of a peacock. Is the temperature or climate right for a peacock? Absolutely not. Is the peacock just there? Yes.
Got a peacock in the backyard.
There's just a peacock in the backyard. And
just a full peacock.
Just a full whole-on peacock.
So between these two that I've heard so far, what I'm hearing is that the Beals are just really trying to look like they're rich without understanding what rich people actually spend money on. Incredible.
Honestly, I think with that continuing that trend of unnecessary like wealth, they have a giant moose head mantled right above the fireplace. Like I don't know if you've ever been next to a moose before.
They're big.
They're fucking big, especially with their horns. Like
they're real big.
The wingspan of that thing, like of just the horns, it's huge. It's mantled onto the wall, and just for a moment, you could have sworn it just moved.
Ooh, I'm gonna.
Is it staring at you? You don't fucking know.
I'm gonna write a note.
But it's a moose head.
Oh, that's concerning. So
all the furniture matches, which is just something that's not very common in households of those without money.
Oh, like it's all like new furniture?
It's all new furniture and it matches.
Oh.
Got this shit from IKEA just
There's
yesterday,
no hand-me-downs. And it is custom made too.
Oh god.
Oh.
So it's uncomfortable too, is what you're telling me.
So as I said, like it sounds like the Beal. I like this. The Beals they're living above their station in a way that is they just are giving as big of the illusion that they have a lot more money than they clearly have, which I think was going to give you guys the impression that they must have come into some serious money at some point, or otherwise got some good deals on things, because clearly they are trying to make it look like they are richer than they actually are. That's fantastic. Yep. So I will say you hear like movement coming from upstairs. The lady of the house, Mrs. Beal, will join you guys shortly. Is there anything anyone in the front room would like to do as they're waiting for Mrs. Beal to arrive?
Yeah, I kind of would have probably been trying to be aware of this as we were walking into the house, but because I know that there was a smell of sulfur, I want to see if I can either catch that again or if anything moves like in my peripherals or anything, any of the common things people say when there are ghosts, like shit moving, seeing shadows, feeling watched, along with what I know to actually be a ghost.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a roll information move plus, I would say, sensitivity, because it is less you trying to like look for specific small details, but you're trying to like get that like feeling of like there's something other here. You're engaging your supernatural faculties. I kind of like this. Yeah, go ahead and roll information plus sensitivity. Do you have any? Yeah.
Can you remind me how to do that? I just have 1 in sensitivity. So
yeah, so you roll 2d6s and then you're going to add 1 to the roll because that's your point. Do you have any? Gotcha. Do you have any personal quarters items you might be able to invoke for advantage?
I can't.
Or do you want to hold on to them for now? That's fine.
I think I want to hold on to it because right now I'm just doing a cursory, like seeing if I notice something.
Yeah, let's see.
I'll pull it out if I notice something.
Give us the roll.
9.
9. So on the information move, a 9 on a 7 to 9, there's a clue with a complication. And I'll tell you what that is. Yeah, I like that. So I'm gonna say that you kind of like, are you seated or are you standing?
I wouldn't sit down. I'd be wandering around looking at all these tacky little things they've got on the walls, making comments like, ugh, I don't understand people who keep this around. This is just waiting to be broken. I'm just walking around, looking closer, maybe examining that moose head, like, fuck, those eyes are following us. Whoever installed those did a terrible job.
Here's what I'm going to say. You notice that one of the mirrors, kind of like in here in the front room, has cracked in a perfect like star kind of formation on the glass surface itself. And as you notice this and you feel the temperature in the room drastically drop to an icy, frigid temperature, despite the presence of a small hearth nearby. You're going to take the condition chilled to the bone. So add that to your conditions list. The way that conditions work is we will adjudicate if it will ever affect your rolls, and you'll get to do disadvantage. So this chill wind blows by you. Everyone I feel like notices that the room get very cold for a moment, but it's Pira specifically who, like, in the corner of the room she's standing in, feels this deep in her body and sees her breath on the air, like the glass fogs and collects like ice on it for a moment before it begins to like fade and slowly pass as Mrs. Beal enters the room. I'm going to jump away from the scene for now really quickly, but just as a reminder for your note taking, your clue there was the mirror cracked in a star pattern. There you go. You may write that down on the threat reference keeper for St. James's Street Ghost. Jumping back over to Dr. Murdock. So you have been reading through the file, conferring with like your own medical texts you brought from Hargrave House, looking for those odd details that might, catch your eye. And I'm just consulting my list of clues here again really quickly. Yeah, this seems like a good one to go with. You notice that the medical report very clearly, says that she died of fright, one might say. There were signs, she had a heart attack. She may have been scared to death. All of these things, but you're cross-referencing something, and you see a number of like not like you don't see it because she's not here, but like you're conferring in the medical file. Her body is reported to have a number of bruises on it. It is said that she fell down the stairs, like she screamed and fell down the stairs like at 18 St. James's Street and was dead by the time she hit the bottom. But you notice that, like, on the reporting, there are a number of bruises around the neckline that are not what someone would receive, a body would get for falling downstairs. They are like the bruises you would get for someone strangling you.
He looks at the documents. They ruled it to be shock amateurs, as he's just kind of like, is he gonna take the paper? No, he's not gonna take the paper. He's not a thief.
Which, I mean, I was about to say you can try if you want to, but no.
He might not take he's not gonna take the paper. Dude's got a lot of space in this dome to store stuff.
Sure, very well.
So the hint is that she had bruises around her neck.
There were signs that maybe she had been choked, like strangled, or at least the bruisings around her neck seemed similar to that, and what you know of how bruising patterns work on corpses.
You don't get that from falling down the stairs. Okay, cool. I like that. We'll keep that in a little dome.
Love it. Great. And is that complete what you wanted to do at the mortuary?
Yes. And with the second hint.
Yes.
Or is that something that will come later?
That's coming up right now.
Oh, yes, sir.
So as you're leaving, you're stepping out of like the mortuary back out into like the street. You have this kind of like knowledge in mind, ruminating over some possible details, and wherever you want to go to next. As you like walk out, you see that D.I. Pettigrew is no longer standing by the front entrance of the mortuary. But you look up the street a little bit, and you spot D.I. Pettigrew again. He's standing like a little bit down the street. He's conferring with somebody that is inside an elegant carriage, what is called a growler during this time. And it's a little hard to see, but you catch like a glint of like sunlight for a second. And it seems like D.I. Pettigrew is having conversation with a woman that is sitting inside the carriage. She is what you catch a glimpse of, looks to be a middle-aged black woman in a luxurious blue taffeta gown, and the sunlight glints off of a dazzling sapphire choker she wears around her neck. And you see that she like looks up from where she was like speaking with D.I. Pettigrew, makes eye contact with you, smiles, and then like looks back at D.I. Pettigrew and says something before, leaning back into the carriage out of sight, and the driver continues driving down the road.
That was weird. He's gonna keep on walking. Just maybe ask the DI. So how are things?
Oh, still waiting for Mr. Trent to finish that autopsy for me. How goes your whatever it was you were doing in there, Dr. Murdock?
Like always, it's exactly what they told them before. If they're seeking closure, they're not going to find it with that.
Well, indeed.
Sorry, please go ahead. Apologies.
Oh, I'm just
He like kind of like taps his pipe and goes,
all out of my smoke. Might as well head back inside and see what that damned fool of a mortician is taking so long. Good day, Dr. Murdock, and tell your companions at Hargrave House that I have my eye on you.
Not to worry, I will keep them under control the best I can.
I should hope you do.
And he walks off. Cal kind of stipends a smile. Ain't no way in fucking hell he's keeping them under control. Like these, like, knowing them, like it's no.
I love it. Great.
Yeah.
Let's cut back over to 18 St. James's Street. So Miss Beal has entered the room. She is a lovely woman, but faded. You can tell that age is starting to wear on her. She's dressed in a simple tartan dress, and has a very sweet disposition as she steps inside, looks at the three of you curiously, and she says, "Oh, yes, may I help you? My cook informed me that there were guests at the door. So sorry, we don't currently have a maid. How may I be of assistance?"
Well, we were sent by Hargrave House. Are you familiar with the organization?
I've never
heard the name in my life, sorry.
Then I'll cut right to the chase. We are looking into the passage of your dear maid, and we were just hoping to ask you a couple of questions about her death.
Oh, of course. Oh, poor Jenny. She was a lovely girl and so good with Roger, my son, and my newborn daughter. And now, thanks to that ridiculous tabloid, I have not been able to find a replacement. What is it you wish to know about young Ginny?
Her habits, anything that may have been unusual on the day of her passing, perhaps those who were in the house, anything out of the ordinary. I'm sure that my associates have other questions that they may wish to pose.
Yeah, so just so we understand structurally, I want to kind of have this conversation, then we'll just have, I think Carla will make the an information move with presence to get a clue out of this, but let's just have a bit of role play with Mrs. Beal for a little bit here. And she says, "Oh, you're investigating a death that is some months old. May I ask why you are driven to do such a thing?"
Logistics.
There's a bit of an inconsistency.
She looks over at Mr. Fontenot and you makes eye contact with you, Ross, and she goes, "Oh, American. Very fascinating. This is a colorful lot, certainly. Logistics. Does that have anything to do with accounting? That is my husband's business. He's away at work presently. He's the one who's good with numbers, I'm afraid."
Well, no. More like an inconsistency. We just wanted to make sure that it was actually a... You see, when Scotland Yard gets weird cases, sometimes they come across our desk as well. We're just coming to ask some questions and make sure that it actually was an accident. We have to be sure in these kind of things, you know? I just want to keep the city safe.
Private investigators, if you will. Detectives.
But just out of the kindness of your heart, if my husband were here, he would ask you how much such a thing costs. But is this a matter of money?
If this was a matter of money, I don't think we would be here. There are much more interesting things than money, don't you think?
Well, I would certainly wish for you to tell that to my husband. Very well. I'm going to have Carla, go ahead and let's have this be a information plus presence, because obviously.
Obviously.
And do you have anything here? You don't have any conditions yet.
No conditions, and
time.
out of my items, I don't think anything really applies here. Nothing yet, anyways. So that would be an 8 plus 2, which is a 10.
10, a clue, right on. I will consult my list here. And actually, I'm going to actually ask Pira and Ross, just sound like I have an idea. Are you looking to do anything else in St. James's Street that you want, like, what other means of investigating you want to indulge while you're on site? Because we can kind of establish that maybe Mrs. Beal will let you investigate.
I would ask to see if she could tell me where the poor girl passed, where she was found, so that I could just take a look around, especially after I got that weird feeling inside my breath. I want to know if it leaves the room or if it follows.
Okay.
And I would like to chat with some of the cook, so to speak, and maybe see the children if they might be, see if they can provide some insight. You know, the world is seen in a much more different perspective than when you were only about yay big.
Yeah, get the kids involved. Good idea. Kids always experience supernatural things differently.
Kids also talk too much, which is...
They do.
Indeed.
I am consulting my list here.
Children can't keep secrets, so...
That's true.
So bad at keeping secrets.
I was once a children. I know this.
I couldn't keep anything to myself.
I was the child that talked too much. I was the note.
Yeah.
Well, it's troubling that you ask. I'm so sorry. What was your name?
Please just call me Carla, darling.
I shall. Well, we moved into this house a year ago. Harold, that is my husband, got a wonderful deal on this townhouse. It truly was a blessing for the family. And I don't like to engage much in gossip. That's why I cannot stand that tabloid story that my husband put in. But I, from what I heard, I try to stay out of the room for such business talks. When we were sold this house, they had warned us that the previous resident had died, falling down the stairs, much like young Ginny did. I didn't think anything of it. I mean, accidental deaths happen all the time, but and now I admit that the circumstances just they seem, I don't know, perhaps I'm thinking too, maybe it is, I'm overthinking it, but that did strike me as
the name
of the
previous owner.
I'm afraid I don't recall. My husband would know such things if he was even paying attention to names instead of numbers. But that is what comes to mind. If I know more, I might let you. If I recall anything, I'll let you know. Yeah. So capital C clue there being that there was a similar death in the house with its previous owner.
Oh, that is very enlightening. Thank you. I'm not to indulge, of course, in superstition, but it is best to establish everything we can afterwards.
You see that she's like, Alice is like staring at you, Carla, specifically. You can see that she's like, and maybe like enraptured by your beauty. And she just goes, well, I'm not sure really what this is all about.
If you don't mind,
Oh, yes.
my associates would love to look around the house a little bit more.
I was just
How
about
about we stay and chat?
Very well. My son is up in his room and the baby's in the nursery. Irma! She like yells back down, and you hear that same woman who answered the door just kind of like go yell back up. Yes, Mrs. Beal. It's like, would you mind fetching Roger so that he may meet our guests?
No need to trouble Irma here. And Ross is going to stand up and swagger over. You can just point me to where the young gentleman is there, dear.
Actually, and as you say this, you actually hear like dum, 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 like coming from like the upstairs. As moments later, a like young 9-year-old boy, very like ruddy cheeked, wearing a sailor's outfit, is this 9-year-old boy who kind of like runs in and just he's like, yes, ma. And Alice is like, Roger, these are some guests here to look around the house. They are interested in the rumors of the ghost. Immediately the kid's like eyes light up and goes, oh, you're here about the ghost. May I give you my ghost tour?
I would be so delighted. What is that? And I'm going to squat down. I'm going to get on his level. I'm going to put my hand. I'm going to say, Ross Fontenot, I am an animal wrangler at large and an experienced tracker of men, foul, beast, and ghosts. And I would love to see your tour there, young. Was it Roger?
Roger, sir, yes.
Well, put her there, pal.
Oh, fuck yes. And you immediately, Alice goes, Roger! And the boy's like head like snaps towards her. And she looks at you, Carla. Alice looks at you, Carla, and she goes, I am so sorry. He's been on a sailor fixation lately, including the language.
Over
that is not polite company. That is not words a young man should be speaking, Roger.
Of babes, indeed.
Oh,
Why
I love
don't
Roger
you-
already.
Yeah,
Roger.
might as well teach him the words young, right? He's gonna hear it all his life.
Never your mind. You like sailors, Roger. When you show me, and I'm going to extend my hand to Roger so he can take it and lead me around. I'm going to say, why don't I tell you about the sailors of Costa del Tortuga and southern Mexico and how the time they helped save me from a couple of pirates there.
Oh my God.
Yes. Wait, should that be like before or after I give you the ghost tour of my house?
Whatever you prefer, young gentleman.
I would prefer to go first.
Indeed.
But I would like to hear a lot about pirates and sailors out of wherever it was you just said now.
Costa del Tortuga. Would be happy to tell you, dear Roger. Lead the way, young man.
Yes. Well, this is the front room. It might be haunted. And then the dining room is over here. And he runs in. And off into another room. So you're accompanying him, Ross. Pira, are you also going with?
No, Pira would be, since she was told the maid fell down the stairs, she'd be going towards the stairs.
Gotcha. You're going.
But
with
I would like to ask, out of curiosity, how old is your youngest? They're still a babe, right?
Alice looks at you and she says, "Oh, yes. That would be my daughter, Mary Alice. She is she is an infant. She is upstairs in the nursery. Yes." We had her shortly around the time we moved in here.
Okay, got it. And I'll walk out and start taking a look around the stairwell.
Cool. So Carla's staying with Alice. We have Ross going on a ghost tour, and we have Pira going to look around.
Split us all up to make it fun
I
for you.
love it.
And I'm going on a walk.
Yes, you are.
Cal's just like fucking amateur.
I think that is a lovely place to take a quick break. And welcome back, hunters and distinguished guests. Let us resume with, I think, Dr. Murdock. We ended with your scene. What else would you like to? What other things would you like to do today, if anything?
Okay, so I've got valuable information that I need. Looks left, sees no one. Looks right, sees no one.
Yes.
I think I might be able to get a part at this time.
Get a what? A part at this time. Where would you like to even try that?
Do you think any morgues would let me assist them in any practice, or are there any calls for a doctor right now?
I think with plenty of daytime on your hand, I could see this being possible. I mean, you can probably insert yourself into some case. All the same, that this is probably going to. This is so interesting.
Actually,
yeah.
second thought, I might
okay.
want to hold off on getting a part for now. I think it's best for him to reconvene with the others and head over to the estate and join them.
Okay, yeah, excellent.
I'll get a part later.
Yeah, we'll get back to that momentarily. Pira, you wanted to go check out where the young Miss Hess was found
Yes, I'd like to see
deceased.
where she took her fateful fall and see if it was actually a fateful fall, or is there something a bit more spooky about?
Yes, and were you the one who said you also wanted to go talk to Irma, or no, just the fall?
No, just a fall.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
asked, I just wanted to know the child's age because I have a concern to express with the group later.
Absolutely. I think that you will follow Ross and Roger for their first stint up the stairs, but you will be pointed out to that, Ginny's body was found at the bottom of on the second level. The house where there are various bedrooms here, and there are stairs that lead up to the attic nursery. And
Attic nursery. These people are fucking sociopaths.
Jesus Christ.
What?
Where heat rises.
asking for your children to
Illusion of wealth, remember?
Yeah, I know.
What are you looking for? How are you looking? Describe this to me.
So, we Rivias were known for our prowess in tracking and inviting. And that's not entirely from training, it's something in our blood. So I would like to try and hone in, and I guess in layman's terms, making a sort of investigative role.
So
see if I can
got a keen eye for this thing.
Yeah. You know how in Witcher you get your Witcher sense and you can just see fucking wine dripped on the floor? That's basically what she's doing.
Yeah, then I think that this would make sense, that this would be an information move plus your reason. And do you have any items from your personal quarters that you'd like to check off here if you think they'd be relevant, or no?
Let me see. Because I think the codex will be useful, but I'm not sure it'll be useful here yet.
Okay.
So I think I will leave it for now, and I will just do a straight roll of 2d6.
All right. Plus reason.
Okay, that wasn't bad. That was a 10. I don't have anything in reason, so it's just a flat 10.
Okay. Flat clue. Excellent. Then you will just get a clue, and I will reflect on that and get back to you in a minute. Meanwhile, with Ross, I think Roger, before he takes you upstairs, shows you the dining room, like going through the house. And he just goes, in here is the dining room. This is where we have dinner, and presumably where the ghost also has dinner.
Indeed, very intelligent of you. Most people don't realize that ghosts need to have some form of energy as well. Though we don't know in the paranormal, in the preternatural field, whether or not they do ingest human food or if it's some form of energy.
Yeah, sure.
Can we bring Roger into the Hargrave House?
Absolutely not. It will fuck him up for life.
Oh no, terrible idea.
so in
I'm
tune
very
with the
curious.
Well, you seem awfully knowledgeable about ghosts, sir.
Well, I'll tell you, little one, in the time that I've spent out in the highways and the byways of life, as well as in the bayous, you have a way of coming across some sort of spirits.
Oh, well, well, I haven't seen much of this ghost myself, but I reckon it's a bloody terror after what it did to Jenny.
I'm going to kneel down again. I'm going to say, tell me, little man, have you ever smoked a cigar before?
No, but sometimes my father does with the boys from his club.
How about this? I'll give you one of my spare ones to hold on to, not for now, but for when you're ready. If you go ahead and you tell me everything you know about dear Jenny's fall and this ghost, because you said you haven't seen much of it, but you have seen it.
This is this is amazing. I'm gonna actually, this is gonna be information plus presence. Now, real quickly before you make that roll, Wes, I didn't mean to ask this paint the scene question for the dining room for collective hunters here. Yes, there's, and I just meant to describe it a little bit more too. The dining room is the other room here on the first floor of 18 St. James's. It has a large. Long, I should say, polished table that can, has seatings up for 8. There's a little curio cabinet, a serving trolley. The paint the scene question for this is, does Mrs. Beal have splendid taste or rather disappointing taste? What do you see that confirms this? Everyone can chip in here, obviously. Go ahead.
I think she has really shit taste from what we've seen, just from what we've seen outside, in the main room. I think, like she has the most utterly fucking disgusting china that you've ever seen, just like on the table. First of all, it's not even like up or anything. Like she's using the fine china on the table. Just like it's like the plates have like little scratches in their designs. It's like this like beautiful piece is now like ruined. Like there's kind of like a lack of like class and how these wealthy items are being treated.
Mm-hmm.
So like I guess like less like the worth of the item and more how it's being treated. That's kind of where the poor taste comes in.
Gotcha.
I would like to build off this idea that all silver in the room is tarnished from lack of proper polishing. Whether that's from the maid being dead or the fact that they didn't know how to take care of it. It's all pretty terribly ruined.
There is a painting on the wall. Like, there's like a frame painting that in any other context would look very, very nice, but it's just not gaudy. That's not quite the right word, but it's very much like this was somebody else's taste. This was like maybe belonged to the previous occupant of the house, and it does not match any of the decor whatsoever. It clashes with everything in this room.
Amazing.
And it's prominent. So it's prominent clashing.
There's a shelf that is opposite where the fine china and silverware is kept that has a collection of knick-knack and curios that have been collected from the family's travels that you can tell is what might seem to somebody that's not well-traveled or well-versed in travel might seem exotic or foreign, but is actually just cheap ad hoc, just souvenirs from different places about.
I see.
And there is a not a painting, but a photograph, one of the very, first photographs has ever taken of this family. And everybody seems to be smiling except for the husband and the wife, who seem to have just the most miserable time imposed on their faces.
I love that. Well then, Ross, go ahead and roll plus presence on an information move with young Roger here to see if you can ply this young 9-year-old with cigars for information.
Hey kid, you want some drugs?
They always say yes.
Drugs are expensive nowadays. Come on.
Always say
His mother is
yes.
going to fucking kill you.
That is a 7.
7. I am a fan of this. Yeah.
Oh, brother.
7. So clearly the complication, which I will remind everybody now. I'm sure I brought this up earlier, but now it's a perfectly fine time to bring it up as well. If at any point anyone, after they make a roll and after I narrate the roll, you are welcome to, if you so choose, invoke the Janus Mask. The Janus Mask is a mechanic in the between where our hunters can don a metaphorical mask, the mask of the past or the mask of the future, to increase the success tier of their die roll by one step up. And these masks are involve flashbacks of their past lives or possible future elements of where they might be going as people. I will also let my hunters know that every threat also has its own custom mask. For the ghost, for the St. James Street ghost, that would be the Mask of the Unquiet. So it's kind of like a freebie mask. Anyone is welcome to use if they want to. So I always narrate the results first. I'm going to do that now and tell you what you get from this, and then you can tell me if you want to put on the Janus Mask and bump it up from a complication clue to just a flat clue. Take a look at my sheet for a second. Yeah. You're kind of like talking with Roger. He's like, why? He looks at the cigar you hand him as you're like standing in the dining room. He goes, oh, I see my father smoke these all the time, and I hear they're very popular with sailors, the more rough and tumble sort, those who really, get it done, as they say. Get it in? Is that what they mean? I'm not... Where do they get it in?
That is for a lesson for another day, young Roger. That is a lesson for another day.
Oh, well, I suppose this will make me much like my father. And yeah, he gets very enthusiastic. I'm going to say what he gives you is, well, it was, it was the strangest thing. I wasn't home. I wasn't, but I heard that before her fall, before she tumbled down, Miss Thicket, the cook, she smells so dreadfully bloody awful, but she was ranting about hearing Ginny scream about a fire somewhere in the house, that there was a fire, but and then she clattered down the stairs and, well, when Miss Thicket went to go look, there was no fire, and Ginny was just dead. And he's talking and he's rambling, and that Roger says, he's like, I mean, it was the strangest, awfully little thing. Get out. And then continue speaking from there, as if he didn't even realize he said that. And I'm going to give you the condition unwelcome.
I would take this condition, but I do want to go ahead and put on display this marking a mask.
Would you like to do Mask
everybody.
of the Past, Future, or Mask of the Unquiet?
as much as I would like to showcase Mask of the Unquiet here, I think I would love to be the first one to mark the Mask of the Past, please.
Excellent. Go ahead and mark your first mask,
Yes.
Mr. Fontenelle, which I believe, looking at your character's playbook here on the Keeper, your first Mask of the Past is narrate a flashback to your childhood that shows the high level of privilege you were born into. Very fitting for this. Would you like to do that flashback now or come back to it in a little bit?
Let's do it now.
Paint us the picture, baby. Let's go.
I think as Ross has been smoking his own cigar, and he's kind of listening and taking this all in, and he hears, just in the back of his head, you hear, boy. Now what are you doing there, boy? Get out of this room. Don't you see I'm talking business? And we're kind of pulled back. And there's a smoky parlor that is nearby a dining room. And we see what is very clearly a tall child, about 10 years old, but tall still, stocky, and is wearing trousers that are a little bit too short for him. So you can see his socks. And he's wearing a suspenders similar to the one that Ross is wearing, and a shirt. And there's this fine carpet, this rug, and there is men standing around a table in this parlor, and they're talking over what seems to be papers. And you see there is a man that has mutton chops, not unlike Ross's, and he's saying, boy, what are you doing? Get out of here right now. You're going to be dripping that all over the carpet. And you see that Ross is holding in his hands a knife. And he is holding a wild animal that he has caught, but it's unseen what it is. And it has been gutted and cleaned, and it is just dripping all over the floor, this fine oak wooden floor. And you can see that there are magnificent paintings. And then you see his father scoop up a stack of papers and start rolling them up and stomping towards him. And then we kind of fade back out of that.
Incredible. Thank you, Mr. Fontenelle. Well, then in that case, what happens now is Roger does earnestly say that, oh, Miss Ginny, she was apparently screaming to bloody high heaven, if you'll pardon my language, about a fire somewhere in the house. But there was no fire. I mean, I would know. I would smell it, right?
Indeed, you would. It'd permeate all in the halls and the tapestries and the curtains here.
He just like nods and goes, well, did you want to see the rest of the house, sir?
Please, I saw that there was a peacock out back. I would love to make his acquaintance.
Oh, he's a complete shithead. And he like walks out towards the back.
Shitheads are the best.
Back upstairs, I'll give you your clue now, Pira, then we're going to jump down to Carla. You were looking around the floor like with your keen hunter eyes. There are also some like bedrooms kind of around you here as well, that like various doors you could look into. But the attic stairs draws your attention first. I want to say that as you're like taking a closer gander with like your fine detail-oriented eyes, you notice that like one of the stairs about like midway up the the attic steps has like a jagged line in it that has been like sealed with some kind of like construction material. It looks as if a single step kind of like high up on the attic stairway snapped underfoot and has since been repaired, but that might cause an awful tumble.
I'm curious, just a really quick thing. If I notice that, can I go up and knock on the step and see if there is a hollow compartment underneath that could be fallen through, or is this made the way stairs should be made with extra supports?
I think I'm going to say that it's made the way stairs should be made, where it's like, it's not like a trick thing. Although, I mean, actually, here's what I'll say. I'm gonna give it like what it seems to be, but as a reminder, when you guys are answering a question later and you decide, oh, a trick step in this would be an amazing idea, you can always incorporate. We can retcon what has been established to like fit the theory. But for now, I will say that it seems to look like a stair snapped has since been fixed.
And does it look like a recent fix, or does this
within the
look
last few months?
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump back to Carla back in the front room. You were speaking to Mrs. Beal.
I am.
Yeah. What are you discussing? What are you trying to get here?
So I think, for the past couple of minutes, the two of them have been discussing, proper things, like the weather, latest politics, perhaps. And then after a little bit, Carla, she hasn't touched any of the food or the tea. She just, your cook seemed very agitated. I hope you don't mind me asking.
Oh, no, Irma's been very overwhelmed since young Ginny left us.
You're close.
Myself and Ginny,
the cook and Ginny.
Oh, I don't know. I think they were at least friendly with one another. Miss Thickett's always down in, the basement where the kitchen is, cooking, and Ginny mostly tended to the children and cleaning. I mean, it's awfully dusty in here. Irma's actually been here since the last family. She worked here previously, yes, but she's I don't know, something's been off about her ever since Ginny passed away. It's just I tried to not put too many duties upon her. She's already overwhelmed enough as it is, feeding 2 children, not to mention my husband. But I don't know beyond that, really.
Are you sure there's nothing else you can give for me?
Let's have a information plus presence again. I like this a lot.
That's a 12.
Hey, yo!
Plus mastermind clue. Love it.
I like these dice. These are nice dice.
These are very nice dice.
That's some nice dice.
Well,
some good rolls.
And you were asking about mostly like Ginny and Irma, or just?
I was mostly prodding towards Irma specifically.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, I'm going to do this clue. And let me have a moment to look at my mastermind clues list, of which I have some delicious options. Take a gander, which I want to do. Oh, interesting. Okay. Here's what I'm gonna say. Well, it was very odd. I once heard Irma arguing with somebody. I thought she was arguing with Ginny. A very heated argument, and I don't like to eavesdrop. I was just minding Mary Alice and tending to Roger as he was playing about with Pythagoras, wherever that dog is about now. He's so skittish these days. And Alice says, but I did listen a little closer, and well, I rightly don't know who Miss Thicket was speaking with. I didn't recognize the voice. It wasn't Ginny. It wasn't Roger. It wasn't Harold. I didn't understand who it was, and furthermore, I didn't understand what they were saying. They were speaking in another language. I didn't know that Irma was multilingual. But like I said, she was here with the previous resident, and she was employed by it's the most confounding situation. My husband is better with numbers and accounts, and from what I recall, it was Irma worked for the previous resident here, but the resident didn't own the house. The house was owned by like a landlord, I should say landlady. What was her name? Theodora Brathwaite was the previous landlady. She sold the property to us after the last death. Irma was on staff as well, and I don't know much about her, but she doesn't strike me as someone who speaks whatever language I heard her speaking. I don't know. Maybe I'm just worrying too much lately. This was some time ago. It's
You
all
seem
very...
like you're awfully tired. Don't worry. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So, just as a reminder, the clue is Irma having a heated argument with an unknown voice in an unknown language, and the previous landlady of 18 St. James's Street was Theodora Brathwaite. That is your mastermind clue right there.
Okay.
Great. I'm going to jump over back to Dr. Murdock for a moment. This is great. I think we're coming after we do like a little bit more at St. James. I think we're going to wrap up the day phase and move on. I think this has been very good. Dr. Murdock, you show up, you walk very casually out over to 18 St. James's Street. As you're approaching, you notice that there is a figure from the next house over. Is like there's like a little hedgerow. You know how in like in like what is it, Home Improvement, the sitcom, the neighbor who like looks over like the hedge maze. Yeah, right. there is a woman currently like peering over the hedge maze, staring right at you as you're walking up, and when you like notice her, she goes "Hoo!" and like ducks behind the hedge again.
Checks his clothes to see if anything's like amiss. Like, I'm not exposed, am I? That was weird. And he's gonna keep going. Or like, am I at the estate now, or is he like still kind of
you're out front of 18 St. James's Street. The woman looking at you is like is from the neighbor building behind a hedgerow.
Okay, how tall is that hedgerow?
About as tall as you are. So like, well, you can like you can like peer over it if you want.
Okay, Cal's gonna walk over and just like on his tippy toes, like, did I startle you?
Oh my! You like look over and you see an older woman with streaks of gray in her hair wearing a too tight corset. Constance, well, I should say this woman's name is Constance, so we're about to learn that. But she is wearing kind of like black clothes, and she is like holding kind of like a pair of like pruning shears, but like half-heartedly. And she goes, "Oh, don't mind me, just trimming the hedge. Oh, what brings a dashing young man like yourself over to my bush this time of year?" And then she realizes what she just said, and then she's like, "Oh my. Forgive me. I startled me is all. Constance Head."
Cal Murdock.
A pleasure, Mr. Murdock.
I couldn't help but notice that you were watching. Is everything all right? You seem a little...
No. I just saw an interesting, dashing young individual approaching my neighbors and couldn't help but stealing a glance.
Right. Is something like, can I possibly get a read on this lady of like something being like fucking weird?
I'm gonna say that this lady seems like a gossip. Like she seems like a gossip and a snoop. She says, "Might I ask us what you're doing heading over to 18 St. James's Street on this fine afternoon?"
Well, I had a group of companions who were here checking something out before, but it's nothing to worry about.
Of course. I mean, it is certainly no business of mine what goes on in their household. I mean, but what sort of neighbor would I be? What sort of community member would I be if I didn't stay ahead of things that go on around here?
Of course. And I guess while we're on that topic, and Cal is kind of leaning into the gossip, like he literally like leans forward. It's the house that was,
Say it, my dear man.
It's so much superstition, and I'm a man of.
It's on the tip of your tongue. It begins with an H.
Oh, haunted.
Oh yes, indeed it is haunted. Or at least that's so what the rumors are purported to be, and indeed what's been published in the tabloids. Are you a ghost hunter, Mr. Murdock?
No, I'm merely a doctor. I'm just a doctor myself.
Forgive me then, Dr. Murdock. Oh, I'm sure you see plenty of juicy little details in all sorts of sordid little places throughout the city.
Oh, you have no idea. You have no idea.
Oh, but I certainly would like to have an idea, Dr. Murdock. Would you be willing to share? Tit for tat.
If you have the stomach for it, it's a lot of grotesque in death. But besides the point, what exactly have you heard about this house?
Well, I've lived next door most of my life, Doctor. I know quite a bit. I've seen many things. Why don't you? Because I see like you're plying her with like gossip and like little like
just like
if this were modern day, Constance would probably be like a true crime podcast kind of gal, you know, where she's just like, "Oh, give me the where was her limb found?" You know,
Oh God, the
they
worst
put
type
her
of
head
person.
where in the Thames? No, yeah, it's all that sort of stuff. But why don't you give me information plus presence?
okay. So that's a 2d6.
2d6 and then plus your present
presence.
score, which is a 0, so a flat roll.
Man's got no fucking presence. Let's go. Wait, is that? Sorry, I was trying to get the lighting. It's like blocking
No,
my
you're good.
light. Yo, it's a 6 and a 5, dog.
It's an 11.
That's 11.
11, right on. I love that. So clue, yeah, she'll absolutely give you something. Do you want to invoke the Janus Mass to bump that up to get a mastermind clue out of that too, or do you want to kind of ease up on the mastermind clues? Up to you. The pace is at your discretion here.
Let's ease up on the mastermind
Okay.
clues for now.
Okay.
We'll take our time. I want to take a little more time before we dive into that.
Okay, for sure. Wonderful. All right, yeah. Spin me a yarn, Dr. Murdock. What kind of sordid details do you pass along to Miss Head?
She seems like she is one who believes in the supernatural, and we're gonna kind of keep this ploy that the doctor is interested in the gossip, but very much conveys that he is not a man of superstition. He just wants to, like, I guess, like, his goal is to hear what exactly is interesting her the most about this, whether it be about like the supernatural tone, or if she happens to know anything else about it, because she's been the next door neighbor and she's been here for a long time, so she could have been here before this family even moved in. If there's anything weird, actually, matter of fact, let's figure out if there's anything weird about the previous people.
Oh, interesting. Okay, let me take a look here. You're asking about the previous tenants, and okay, cool. Yeah, I'm with that. You want gossip about the old tenants who died? Let's
Couldn't happen to be
see.
them, could it?
Oh my. Oh my. Well, let's see here. Yeah. Well, I knew the previous couple when they stayed here. Oh, tragic what happened to them, of course.
Oh, do pray tell, please.
But I don't know. I heard that they fell down the stairs, which, awful way to go. But the week prior to that awful little event, he had come over for tea and was having a wonderful conversation, sharing news of the neighborhood and day-to-day life and such things. And, well, he mentioned a detail that I found to be keenly interesting, but now I think might have darker connotations. That would be, this is an old neighborhood. These buildings have been around for centuries, perhaps.
Right.
Who knows what sort of things lurk within its walls. But he was cleaning out the basement beneath 18 St. James's Street. I think it's their servants' quarters. I'm not entirely sure. And he found, bricked up behind the walls, a stack of old love letters from another time.
No.
So spicy details in those texts, my dear doctor.
Right. Well, thank you very much. If you don't mind, I will be joining my friends now, but
Oh, so
you
soon,
might
of
be
course.
seeing me again.
I should most like to, Dr. Murdock. Please come over for tea anytime you wish and invite your friends.
Of course. So long. What was your name again?
Constance Head.
Constance Head. Cal Murdock.
Oh.
He like reintroduces himself, kind of takes her hand,
Oh my.
shakes it,
Yeah.
turns around to head back into the building, and shudders.
I love that. All right, back inside. Carla, did I give you your clue? I did. Yes, right?
Yes, you
Gotcha.
did.
Gotcha. And then I gave Pira your clue as well. And then, we'll go back over.
Everyone's got their clue.
Everyone's got their clue. I'm gonna wrap up with, let's say, like, do a couple more things with Pira and Ross, and I think we're gonna move on to the dusk phase, and then move on to the night phase. I feel like we've gotten a good amount done today. Pira, after you saw, like, the kind of, like, you're walking around here with your keen hunter's intuition. Actually, real quick, I want to do something real quick. Jumping back to Murdock really quickly. Dr. Murdock,
Yes.
after your interaction with Constance's head, how do you feel?
I have the feeling of someone who was a little too friendly talking to me, and it gave me the jitters. Cal Murdock is not. He is not a man of the flirtatious variety.
I'm going to give you the condition, the jitters.
Oh fuck! Oh shit! Okay, cool. Dope. Also, what was my clue?
Your
Just so we can get
clue was a found stack of old love letters from another time were found in 18 St. James's Street by the previous owners prior to their death.
All right. Okay. Cool. So what does the jitters mean, Xander?
The conditions, as a reminder, are essentially whenever you make a roll and we think that a thing you have might get in the, like, a condition might affect that roll some way, it gives you disadvantage. So the jitters interpret, and it can also act as like a role play marker, so kind of interpret however you want. Currently, I think you guys are sitting pretty at, I think, 6 clues so far. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, you have 7 clues.
We needed like 4, right, to do the next.
So yeah, the way that answering a question works is that the roll associated with answering a question is 2d6 minus the complexity rating. Now, for every clue you spend to incorporate into that theory or otherwise explain away, it gives you a +1 bonus. So the more clues you're spending on a question, the better chance you have at succeeding at answering the question. So that's something to consider. And yeah, they have 7 clues, so that's pretty good. So as a reminder, your 2 questions are: which part of the house is the ghost attached to? Which allows you to get an access to a custom move. That has a complexity of 4. And then the second question is: how can we get this ghost to pass on to the next world? Complexity of 6 for resolving the threat. So keep that in mind. We might I'll actually ask the hunters now, actually. Pira or Ross, you're getting the whole ghost horse thing going on anyway. Does anyone want to take a stab at answering one of these questions as it is anyway? Oh, Pira.
I do after one thing.
Okay.
Because there is something I'd like to look into further. I didn't get a chance to take a closer look at it because the lady at the house came in and I didn't want to obviously look like I was poking around her finery.
Naturally. Yeah, so what do you want to do as you're on the second floor looking around? There's all these bedrooms around you, which actually I'll go ahead and give you the paint the scene question for these bedrooms, just so we have a little extra, zhuzh in there. There are 4 bedrooms on the second floor where you currently are prying around. 1 for each: Harold, Alice, Roger, and then a guest bedroom. Everybody, here's your paint the scene question. What about these rooms unnerves you?
They're too clean. They don't look lived in. They look like unpersonal hotel rooms. They're like, the sheets are too well pressed. The pillows are too fluffy. It doesn't look like a home. It looks like a display.
I feel like that guest room, the door looks like it was put back on its hinges. Like the door was once off of its hinges, and it kind of has like that sort of looseness, as if they like put it back on.
Mm-hmm.
Kids' toys. Every second toy that you kind of just see scattered around every so often looks broken or dented, or not in the way that kids' toys tend to be well loved. They look maliciously tampered with.
Hello, everyone. We are back now. So sorry about that. My internet cut out, but we're back. So we are in the midst of some paint the scene questions.
Ross was giving us his painted the scene.
Yes.
Yes.
Would you like to start that over from the beginning?
Yeah. We have in the corner a discarded pet collar. Now, it might belong to Pythagoras, the dog that was mentioned offhandedly. I caught that. I don't know if anybody else did. Or it could belong to another pet that has gone away.
I love that. Okay, cool.
Okay.
And yeah, okay, one more, yeah.
No, I think that was.
Is that everybody?
Oh, that was everyone.
That was everyone. That's okay, cool. Excellent. Right on. Then, yeah. Pira, what do you want to do?
I'd like to, provided that Carla and the lady have finished talking.
Yeah.
I'd like to go back down to the sitting room that we were placed in before. And I want to get a better look at that mirror that was cracked in that really strange pattern, because glass doesn't shatter in straight lines.
What are you hoping to glean here?
I'm trying to see if this was done by any sort of tool, or was it done, like, is there any obvious chipping marks?
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Or no, actually, alternatively, I want to see either chipping marks or detecting the smell of sulfur on the glass. I'd imagine if a strong force was applied, it would linger.
Gotcha. Okay. This sounds like another plus reason information move, and then I'll let this be the last one of the day phase for you, and then I'll wrap something up with Ross very quickly, and I think that will be comfortably done. Did excellent progress today. What'd you roll? 2. That is a
Oh, good
miss.
heavens.
Okay, cool. Excellent. Let me narrate an outcome first. Let me narrate an outcome first, then you can decide if you want to put on a mask. Let's see. Taking a closer gander around the room. I love this.
I'm scared. Pira's dice luck has followed me. Help, please.
Okay, here's what happens. You, as Carla and Mrs. Beal are wrapping up conversation, you go back to this mirror and you're like really keenly like looking into it, trying to find some means of like other things that you missed in this room detail wise. And as you do, you notice that the mirror begins, like your reflection starts to shake a little bit, and you realize that the mirror is quivering, and you hear the faint crackling of glass again, and then it explodes outward in just a blast of shards right in front of you. I'm going to give you the condition deeply cut.
I think I'd like to put a mask on.
Okay. Which would you like to do? Past, future, or the unquiet?
I would like to. I think I want to invoke a mask at the past, but ask if I could narrate it later.
That's totally fine. You may do that. Excellent. Then I'll bump that up to a clue with the complication, in which case this is going to be... Let's take a gander at what we're looking at.
It's fine. I'm not getting fucking torn to shreds by fucking glass.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor is right around the corner, just in case.
I don't want. Okay, if we've been working together for a while, this is absolutely something you've had to deal with before. I'm not putting up with you bitching at me.
I'm not going to. Well, I might a little.
Here's okay. I'm
Why
going to
did you stand right in front
here's
of
an
me?
interesting clue, and this might be a fun way, something to interpret. Maybe let's see. You look closer at the cracks, and you notice that it's not cracked in a single straight line. Looking closer at the crack, it is a series of repeating tiny cracks that form numbers. Strings of numbers form the various cracks that outline the star. That is your clue. A series of numbers in the cracks of glass. And
are they repeating pattern numbers, or are they just random
that
strings?
is up to you. Whenever answering happens, we can contextualize that clue however we want.
I have an idea.
You're gonna, but for a complication though, I'm going to still gonna give you a condition. Obviously, the glass doesn't explode at you. But let's see. How is Pira feeling right now?
I think she's relatively unsettled. Seems like a much more violent entity than I think any ghosts I have come across in my particular hunts. I imagine I've come across a lot of passive stuff.
I'm going to give you the condition out of your depth.
Yeah, that's a great thing for the legacy to have.
And then, great, look at that. And then jumping over to Mr. Fontenot before we move on to the dusk phase and then see if we can resolve a night phase tonight. Mr. Fontenot, you are taken out back where there is a peacock traipsing about, and the peacock is currently being growled at by a brindle greyhound who is just kind of like keeping its distance, and then sees the dog sees you and like snaps its head and begins to like, tail between its legs, like whimpers a little bit, and is just like, it like backs up and begins to sniff the air very cautiously. And Roger says, "That's Pythagoras, our dog. I don't know what has gotten him all riled up. He used to just lay about and sleep all day, but ever since we moved here, he's just been constantly barking and running around the place."
Animals have a tendency to have a connection to things that might be a little bit beyond the veil. I think your dog Pythagoras, much like you, dear Roger, has seen something that others have not. Do you mind?
Oh, sure. By all means.
And Ross is going to put his own cigar in his mouth, and he is going to try to essentially I'm going to try to inspect Pythagoras and see what's going on.
Okay.
And try to convince him not to act out or attack me.
I'm going to actually do this with information plus composure. Actually, wait.
Okay.
Hold on. Before you do, I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually having this be a day move, because we haven't really done one of those yet, because you're approaching a dog whose hackles are raised. That seems like a risky thing. As per the move, the day move, which happens during the daytime, is when you do something risky or face something you fear, name what you're afraid of will happen if you fail or lose your nerve, then roll with an appropriate ability. Yeah, as you approach Pythagoras, this very paranoid, nervous-looking dog is like kind of like barks and snarls at you, and you're trying to like, walk up to, what are you afraid will happen?
I'm afraid that the motherfucker's gonna bite me real bad. Gonna take a chunk out of me, just kind of how he's been reacting with his peacock. He's very erratic. He might even be rabid.
Ooh, well then roll day move plus composure.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say, as a coaxing tool, I'm gonna utilize one of my personal belongings. My personal quarters. I'm gonna use my small tin of southern herbs and spices to kind of coat my fingers with some taste good. Put some of that Tony Chachere's on my fingertips.
Okay,
A little bit of bacon grease on it.
Oh, yeah. I love this. Roll with advantage then. So the 3 dice and then take the 2 higher numbers.
Perfect.
Well, you smelling mighty delectable.
So you may check off the item.
But say, is this meant to keep the dog from biting you or make the dog eat you?
That is a 1, a 5, and a 6. I will take those 5 and 6s. And I've got a +1 to composure, so that is a 12.
12 on the day move. So on a 10 plus, you do. Oh, sorry, on a 12 plus, you do what you intend. Or you hold steady, and I will tell you some extra benefit or advantage you receive. So go ahead, describe it to me what it looks like as you like approach this dog, take out a pouch full of spices, and like, yeah, tell me like what happens that you do is like to get this dog to like ease up and be friendly to you.
You're gonna see Ross take off his jacket and just kind of drape it over a patio furniture, and he's going to bend down. And he's going to be like, "Oh, don't you worry there. Don't you worry at all." And he starts speaking a little bit of Creole, and you see him pull out a tin from his back pocket. And the camera's very focused on the tin, and you can see his hand is kind of shaking. Almost he would be holding something reverential, but he's kind of terrified of it. And for a moment, we don't know what it is. Is it a stash tin? Is it poison? What is it? And you see him pop it open. And it's just a collection of red and black and white and brown and tan spices powdered up, collected. And you see him It's good. He's gonna hold it out to Roger to smell.
Roger Beal, who goes, oh, it smells lovely, actually. And then Pythagoras, the dog, just goes,
And you just see Ross lick his fingertips and then stick his fingertips inside of it and coat them almost like Cheeto dust.
yeah. Pythagoras fully comes
close-
up and just begins to like lick up at your, like, on your fingers, and then head nuzzles up onto your wrist and kind of like seems to ease up and relax a little bit. You see a lot of the tension of the body in the dog's body, let loosen up a little bit, and kind of moves around your legs and seems much endeared to you. And then you get an extra benefit. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna actually give you a clue as your extra advantage, because that's what you're angling for anyway. You see that Pythagoras like whimpers and runs over to a far corner of the yard and begins to bark and dig. And you walk over. You see that he's digging, and there's a little plot of dirt in the back of the Beal's garden that he's digging up, and he has his paws pull away the dirt. You see a little leather bound ledger book that has been buried out here in the yard.
Going to using that big fuck off knife just to kind of push the dirt around.
Yeah, it puts it around.
Pry it.
You pull out this ledger that's been buried in the garden, interestingly enough, and it's actually inscribed with Harold Beal's name on it. And glancing through it, it is a ledger containing entries for strange household expenses in recent time. Stuff like thought casting, dream whisperer, pig gifts. Interesting. And I think that's going to conclude the day phase. I think we got a lot of great progress there tonight. So let's jump over to the dawn phase.
Did
Dusk phase.
I hear that right? Pig whisperer?
It's, let me read this again here. Dream whisperer and pig gifts.
Okay. That's still just as weird.
Yeah.
I'm the pig
So let's jump
whisperer.
over to the dusk phase. The dusk phase is a setup phase. This moves quickly, and then we're going to move into the night phase. Now, as a reminder to my hunters and also to our distinguished guests at home, the night phase, whereas the day phase is very languid and we take it at an easy pace, it belongs to the players. The night phase is mine. Actually, let me be a little bit more dramatically intense. The night phase belongs to me. And the night phase is at a fast, almost breakneck pace. It moves by very quickly, and it is my domain. You may tell me something you want to do during the night phase, but I decide whether or not that actually happens. So what we're going to do for the dusk phase... Oh, yes, Pira.
I just had a question about the masks.
Yes.
Just when you choose to narrate a mask later, do you as the player choose when that becomes pertinent, or does that come on later at your discretion?
Sorry, can you repeat your question again?
When I used my Janus mask in the past, but chose to narrate it later. What are the constraints in narrating it later? Is there a time constraint? And do I have to do it before the night phase?
Once we get to the dusk and dawn phases, there are parts of it where it's during the dusk and dawn phase, part of the procedure is to do prompts that haven't been done yet.
Gotcha.
But you can still wait if you want to, for a bit longer. So yeah,
I just didn't want to drag out the day phase, so I was just curious. Thank you for clarifying. Appreciate it.
I'm gonna jump us over to the dusk phase. Now, a couple things that happen in the dusk phase. First of all, we have some playbook moves that need to get resolved during the dusk phase. I believe are American and are undeniable. Carla hasn't taken any physical harm today, has she?
No, she is not.
Then your move of unquenchable thirst is not activated now. However, Wes, the quickening is triggered during the dusk phase. Would you like to read the first kind of little entry there for the quickening regarding Mr. Fontenot?
You live with a curse that causes you to become savage, even feral, to the point where your body physically changes. At the start of the dusk phase, roll with composure or sensitivity, your choice.
So after and we'll say essentially in the meta narrative here, everyone kind of regroups and leaves the Beal's house, and you're back at Hargrave House to mostly figure out what you're going to be doing during the night. Of course, you are locked in your room right now, Mr. Fontenot, as the quickening begins to take hold. Why don't you choose? Are you rolling plus composure or plus sensitivity?
We are going to use composure.
Go ahead and give me the roll.
That is a 10 plus 1, an 11.
All right, on an 11, your body is stronger and faster. You manage to keep the quickening in check. You roll with advantage when taking actions that use vitality until the next dawn phase. Absolutely incredible. Unless you wanted to invoke the Janus Mask to make that a 12 plus for added benefits, or leave it as is.
We're gonna leave it as is.
Love it. Okay. Fantastic. Well, that's great. I am going to now pose a paint the scene question about Hargrave House itself. Hargrave House has many rooms, many chambers, and we kind of are going to discover and learn more about them as we play. I'm going to pick one of the rooms of Hargrave House, and I will ask you all a question. Let's see. I'm going to do, honestly, let's do the gardens of Hargrave House. We just ended the day phase in the Beal's garden, so being in this space is like being totally disconnected from the stink and grime of London. Is that reassuring to you, or does it make you feel uncomfortable? Why?
Believe Ross, this is the most comfortable he feels is out here. Though as much as he likes being in his opium dens amongst the drunkards and the addicts and the hookers and the drink and everything, the cobblestone and the steel and the brick make him feel claustrophobic and confined. And here he feels freer, easier to breathe. Sometimes it's not uncommon to see Ross laying on his back with the sun just exposed, and he might not have his shirt on. He might have his suspenders and his pants on, but he might not have his shirt on, almost like a lizard in the sun.
Carla, she spends a lot of time in the gardens, mostly not necessarily enjoying the sun as Mr. Fontenot, but she likes how exposed it is. I think in a similar way to Mr. Fontenot, not necessarily in the same way though, whereas he feels claustrophobic. In her case, it feels more like people are seeing her more clearly. She looks taller, a little bit more confident out in the gardens, almost as if she's more in her element. Like you can almost see like the garden parties and the people around her as she's just kind of standing near the roses and near the flowers. There's something very powerful about looking at her when she's in the gardens.
The lovely thing about plants is that when a plant dies, it can be revived. Something about that after a long rain, after a drought, that you can find that yellow and orange and brackish brown and dark green grass can thrive and become beautiful again. These gardens provide almost a maternal comfort. These gardens provided an idea. So they sit very special to Cal's heart.
Unlike my 3 fellow hunters, I hate the gardens more than anywhere else in this house. And it's not because of some superficial hatred of flowers. It is because the garden is the biggest lie of Hargrave House. It looks peaceful and inviting, but everything in this house is dark. It is nothing but blood and madness that will take us all. We will all end up on a ledger, no matter how nice these gardens are. They are a symbol of everything I hate about Hargrave House.
I love that. Fantastic. All right. So during the dusk phase, everyone each gets to go around here and state what your hunter will be doing during the upcoming night phase in like a sentence or so. After everyone has stated what they want to do, everyone is allowed a round of revisions if they so choose. So hunters, what would you like to be doing during the upcoming night phase?
So I noticed that I don't have my head yet for the child. It's a little important that I do have the head. Would it be possible if I were to
go out and possibly
either like sacrifice like a mask to have like the specific head that I
you don't sacrifice masks for to do that. However, if you would like to spend your night phase trying to find a suitable body part, you are certainly welcome to stalk the streets of London and do some work, if you will.
Okay.
Now there is a move the mother has that you don't have. It's called night work, which allows you to kind of do this during night phases. However, you can still do it. It's just going to be riskier. If you want to find a body part for the child, you absolutely can do that tonight.
Could I up the stakes and like, because I'm essentially looking for the head of the one that I lost, and that is going to become the base of where it starts. Is that something that I can do?
That's super interesting. I think the thing with the mother is that you're trying to find new body parts to like that you think are suitable. So you can't like necessarily get the exact head, but like looking for like a head that you want to that finding a resemblance is absolutely a thing you can do. Like you're looking for a head that you can use that resembles well enough. I think that you can't get like the exact body part from the person you lost, but like a fitting replacement, something that is like, yes, this is what I want. This is a good part.
Okay.
Is that what we want to do? And find a body part for the child tonight?
I'm gonna find a body part for the child tonight.
All right. What does Ross want to do?
As you see Cal gathering up his supplies and things of him going out, you're going to see Ross wearing his nicest leathers and clothes, and he's going to clap Cal on the back, and he's going to say, "You going out and doing a little bit of wet work there, Doc?"
Always. There's always something to do in this town.
Well, one of these days I'm going to have you come out with me, and we're going to hit that town and do a little bit different kind of wet work, you see.
Oh, goodness, Ross. We'll see. He gives you an answer that's like it's not a no.
A non-answer, but it's not a no. All right.
It's not a no.
Ross Fontenot is going to go to his favorite bordello and opium den, and he is going to do a little bit of. He's going to do some work in his mind palace, and he's going to do that by getting it as cloudy as possible in there. He is going to be getting rip-roaring high off of opium. He might touch a titty, things of that nature. You know how it goes. But I am going to be utilizing my move, as cruel as the harlot's curse.
You want to read it out loud real quick before we move on and see what Carla and Pira are going to do?
When you indulge your vice alone in the dark and seedy underbelly of London in order to deaden your senses, roll with vitality.
And you have advantage on that because of the quickening. Excellent. Indeed. Cool. You're going to go probably around to opium dens. Carla, what do you want to do during the night phase?
She goes into her wardrobe and she pulls out a very modest looking dress, and she is going to dress up in modest clothes, a little bit of a hat and veil. And I think she is going to head down to the local hospital where she does some volunteer work on the night shift.
Well, I should ask. So, what are you hoping to accomplish? I mean, obviously that's your vice, but like, what are you hoping to accomplish at doing that? I will remind you that the vulnerable move is a thing that if you and another hunter have an intimate scene together, while at least one of you is engaged in your vice, you both can clear appropriate conditions and also like find clues as well while doing so. You're welcome to invite another hunter along to do that tonight, to join you at the hospital.
She would invite people, and essentially her thing that she's doing is she's rumor milling.
Oh, interesting. That too.
Because of course,
okay,
this showed up in the newspapers. She has to get some sort of rumor milling.
Okay, cool. So you want a rumor mill, and if another hunter is going with you, possibly vulnerable. Gotcha.
Possibly.
Kira, what are you hoping to do tonight? And remember, everyone gets a round of revisions after we all go, so you can change your mind if you so wish.
Much as I'd love to go comfort dying people at hospitals and listen to their problems, I'd like to actually work on the case. So I think I'd like to go into Hargrave House library, go over all the information we've gathered, and try and take my mind off of the rather nasty flashback I gave myself earlier today.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I love it. Great. Any revisions, or are we all feeling pretty confident with our night move activities?
Actually, I think I'll go with Ross.
Oh.
I'll do my rumor milling in a different place tonight. Something a little...
And
Ross might be touching a titty after all, damn.
And so Ross's move requires him to be alone. However, the alone could easily be that you just, like a kid at a daycare, just drop him off at the opium den. You'll be at the hospital next door, and then he can do your move, you can do your move, and then maybe you can work together and do things in the night phase.
Reconvene.
Exactly.
How interesting. I like this. All right. I think that's great. Now, hunters, distinguished guests, I would love to continue tonight's chronicle, but I feel like we have run out of time for the evening, and I think it's a good place now that we have a solid idea of what our hunters would like to do during this upcoming night phase. We will resolve that, as well as introduce you to the unseen mechanic. Oh, I was hoping we would do the unseen tonight, but unfortunately, we just ran out of time. Start of next week, though, so stay tuned for that. And before we end tonight's session, we have to have a little scene that is going on. Now, I'm going to try something, he says to the stream, and hope that I got the technical setup correctly. So let me just check this real quick.
A scene, he says.
I did. Okay. So I was just checking to see if the music was working, and it is. Oh, yes. So... hunters, let me get this all set up here.
What are you planning, Rubitsky? What are you planning? What the fuck was that?
Let me just look at my paper here. There we go. Okay, there we go. We're working out the kinks, y'all. Beyond London. In the lush and rolling countryside, we see an enormous manor house with well-tended estate grounds. Inside, a pair of stout oak doors are pushed open into a gargantuan study. A butler, with shriveled skin and wisps of gray hair atop his balding pate, enters. He carries with him a silver platter and begins to tidy up, thoroughly, lovingly. As he works his way diligently throughout the room, he approaches a figure standing at the far end. He waits patiently for his presence to be acknowledged, not wanting to distract his employer from something they are currently studying that hangs on a wall. The figure glances back over his shoulder, and the butler speaks up. "Will you be needing anything more, Miss Brathwaite?" The figure, a middle-aged black woman, impeccably dressed in a blue taffeta gown, smiles and says, "No, Elmore, thank you." The butler nods and sees himself out of the study. We see now that the woman is studying an enormous map of London in its entirety. Her eyes keen. She steps up closer. Carefully and deliberately, she places pushpins into the map. The first she places at 18 St. James's Street. The second, she slowly pushes into Hargrave House. When she steps back, the large sapphire choker worn upon her neck glimmers in the candlelight. As she surveys the map, gears turning a fiercely intelligent glint in her eye, a smile touches at the dark corners of her lips, and she says, "Well, let us begin." And that brings us to a conclusion for the evening.
I like this bitch already. I want to fight her. I don't know who she is and I don't like her.
She
Distinguished
smiled at
guests,
me. I'm gonna clap the shit out of her. Pow, pow.
thank you for tuning in, distinguished guest hunters alike. We will see you next week, Monday, same time, same place, for our continuation of The Between. Until then, sleep well and rest easy, for the night is dark and full of terrors.